We have two texts that are kind of divergent between one another. How does the tongue work with picking up the cross? And I'm going to hopefully tie them together for you today. I'm sure every one of us have been at a party or in a gathering or something where someone's just talking and bantering and, there's laughter and everything going on. And then all of a sudden words are spoken and everything stops. Because we know those words were really not intended, but those words just offended someone. And if there were a way to whip those words right back, I think we used to say rewind about 20 years ago. Rewind. We would. But the truth is those words can never be taken back. And relationships are harmed. And people are hurt. I know that happened once, I remember one significant time it happened with Jim. And he worried about it for years. Do you think she really understood I didn't mean that? And he worried about it because his tongue got out of control and he hurt somebody. And the relationship was really never the same because it revealed where he was and it wasn't as advanced or whatever as everybody thought. You've been in those scenarios. I'm sure you weren't the person who said the words that you wanted to rewind. I'm giving, right? But you've been in those places. And that's kind of what Peter should have done at some point in time instead of, rebuke Jesus. But there's times when we need to rewind. And the goal is that maybe we get to the place where we get this thing under control so we don't have to rewind, so that it doesn't say harmful words before we begin. Now, the gospel is in Mark. The scholars say it is the hinge point of the gospel. It is the peak of the gospel, that everything that has happened to Mark leads up to this moment in which Peter says, "You are the Messiah." And that's a good thing that he said, because Jesus said, "You're right, but don't tell anybody." But when Peter used the word Messiah, he thought something different than what Jesus meant as Messiah. Okay? So what Peter thought was, "You are the Messiah" means some point in time we're going to quit roaming around this country, living where people will let us crash or in the woods or whatever, and we'll be walking into the palace. And all those people that have made life difficult for us before, those people who have oppressed us, well, we now get to oppress them. That's what Peter was thinking. You're building a mighty kingdom. You're the king. I'm riding your tails. Life's going to be good. We're going to party. And when Jesus started talking about his death, Peter was like, no, man. You don't understand. This isn't the plan. We're going to walk into the palace. We're going to party. I think that's how we say it these days. Do we not? I don't get much partying in. But you know what I'm saying. It's time. No more oppression. We're going to rule. And that's where Jesus says, whoa, wait a minute. You're wrong. Now, scholars also point out that this is the third time that Jesus is telling the prediction of his death. And so it's like, you guys, you've heard this before. I've talked to you about this before. We're not moving into the palace. You're thinking about earthly things. I'm talking about godly things, spiritual things. Marcus Borg talks about two types of wisdom. There is I'm going to make a mistake. Conventional wisdom. Yes, that was the right word. Conventional wisdom, which is where we all kind of do what everybody thinks is right. Our conventional wisdom these days is, if I go to work and I'm a good camper, I do good work, I'm going to get rewarded. I'm going to get a big bonus. I'm going to get the nice life. If I follow all the rules, life is good. That's the conventional wisdom. Sorry. And people are thinking for it. Right? That's the way we live in this world. We work hard enough. We do the right things. We connect with the right people. Life is good. We were going to be successful. Am I right? Right? Yeah. And success is determined by the stuff, right? the stuff we have. That's conventional wisdom. We win, we get when we get the most stuff. Marcus Borg also refers to another kind of wisdom, which is subversive wisdom. And that's when you look at life from a different view. When you look at it from, wait a minute, it's not about acquiring things, it's about living differently. It's about going a different way. We would say, the common phrase we've heard in the past is, walks to the beat of a different drummer. And Jesus, okay, is living a subversive life. I know that might get some of you, but he's leading a subversive life. He's saying, wait a minute, it's not the stuff, it's the other stuff. It's being with people, it's bringing healing, it's bringing comfort to those who are oppressed, it's bringing hope. And he's saying, I want you to consider the cross. Pick up the cross. Now, the words, pick up the cross, in that day are much more challenging than for us, right? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if several of us have a nice cross around our neck right now, right? Or we've received crosses for special occasions. I even saw some really bling ones the other day, you know, like really big and sparkly. And so picking up the cross is a cool thing, right, for us? But when Jesus said pick up the cross, it was a symbol of the imperial torture of the time. It was, if you don't obey, if you don't do what the government says, what the Roman Empire says, this will happen to you. You will have to carry this big, old, heavy thing through a crowd of people who will yell at you and spit at you and call you names because you chose to be different than what the empire dictated. You will be shamed. You will be hurt. And so Jesus is saying, don't wear the bling. He's not inviting us to wear the bling. He's inviting us to step out from the norm, to be different. In that day and age, you were associated with different families. And if you weren't of a family of this rank, you married up. Because everything was about your status. It was about who you identified with. And Jesus was saying, change that. Redefine who you are. Redefine what is important to you. And he says, deny yourself. And I need to clearly state, when Jesus says, deny yourself, that does not mean, I am now a rug, please walk on me. That does not mean I try to hurt myself so I can suffer. That does not mean I diminish any of who God has created me to be. Are we clear? Deny yourself is basically redefine yourself. The word deny is used by Jesus here and later where Peter is at the fire right before Jesus' trial. Remember when he said, oh, you look like him, and Peter said, no, I don't know him. And he denied him 3 times before the cocks crowed. You remember that story? Those 2 times in the whole New Testament is when it's used. And what Matt Skinner said was that what Peter did was he said, I don't know him. And what Jesus invites us to say is, I don't know me, so that I'm open to become who God wants me to be. It's a place where we begin to redefine what is important to us. What are things that motivate us? Here's a simple example. When I was a really young woman, working downtown, there was a nice salon. And once a month, I could afford a treat to get my nails done. And it was just lovely attention to get my nails done. And there was a time when I was there, and one of the older women of my church happened to be there at the same time. And this was an older woman who had been like a pioneer in corporate America and had achieved, and it was important to her to always look good. And so she had a standing appointment to get her hair and her nails done every week. It was important, very important, and the place was not cheap. Some things started happening at the church, some ministry opportunities started happening at the church. And all of a sudden, when I would come for my monthly little treat, I would notice she wasn't there. And so I said something to somebody, what happened to her? And they said, she quit. She no longer has a standing appointment. She no longer comes and gets her hair done and her nails done. It was part of her identity. It was part of how she presented herself to the world. And so I kind of casually followed up and I said, what happened? And she said, you know, what's happening at the church, the ministries that are going on, are so much more important than my hair and my nails that I stopped spending the money on that. And I just started giving more so that the ministries could flourish. It's little things like that is the beginning of the process of denying, because it's not really that you're cheating yourself, it's just that what was important is no longer important. There's a story that was linked to Marcus Borg telling. It tells of a traveler who walked upon three men who were cutting stone. And the traveler said to the first one, what are you doing? And the first one said, I'm cutting stone. And the traveler went, okay. And he went to the second one. And he said to the second one, what are you doing? And he said, I'm traveling stone to make a living to provide for my family. And he said, okay. And he went to the third one. And he said, what are you doing? And the man said, I'm building a cathedral. See the difference? When we pick up the cross, when we deny ourselves, when we follow, we're building cathedrals. We're building the reign of God. We're building justice in the world. We're building love. We're building grace. I'm not going to invite you this week to, completely deny yourself and sell all your stuff and, pick up a big old cross or whatever our comparable image is. But I am going to give you a challenge. Let's work on our tongue. If we hang around people that, we associate with people that we just like to sit back and trash people, it's so much fun to talk. Did you see what she was wearing? It can be fun to do that little chatter stuff. If you find that you hang with people that make you more to points where you're not building up people around you, let's see about redefining who we hang out with and what we say. Let's see how we work with gossip. Can we train our tongue so that when we speak words of life, not harm. We speak words of living water, not brackish. We speak words that honor the ones who are creating God's image, our brothers and sisters. Don't have to pick up the whole cross. Let's just work on our tongue. Let's pray. Gracious God, use us to build your love and justice in the world around us. We pause now and we lift up our thanksgiving and our joys and our prayer concerns.